We've had confirmation coming from 15 officials in the United Nations saying that the situation in Gaza is now apocalyptic. They're talking about very dangerous situations when it comes to Gaza. They're warning, but again, things are falling on deaf ears when it comes to the countries that claim to be the beacons of human rights and democracy and freedom and everything. Everything stops when it comes to Gaza, although people have been facing a genocide, right? Some people don't like the word. Some people doubt it. Some cast doubt. Oh, if they wanted to commit a genocide, they would have nuked Gaza. Open the dictionary, you imbecile, and look at the definition of genocide. And that's exactly what's happening. Israel, they have something being implemented now called the General's Plan, the Genocide General's Plan. And in that plan, they are outright explicitly saying, we will be evacuating areas starting from the most northern parts of Gaza. And if people don't listen to us, we're going to be treating them as Hamas members. Not that they're not treating all of the Gazan population as if they were not Hamas, but, you don't know what they would describe them as, really. But this plan is there to implement the ethnic cleansing campaign against the Gazan population. They are covering up the failure when it comes to facing the resistance. They have certain retreats from certain areas, but they have to show like they're doing something, and always, it's the people who are suffering. So they, of course, start with Jabalia. They follow them to Beit Lahia. They said we're going to go to, later on, Gaza and then other areas as we see fit, meaning they want to indeed implement the ethnic cleansing in North Gaza. They are not allowing any aid in, any food, any medication, no nothing. They are banning everyone from every body or organization from trying to get aid to the north. They are attacking hospitals. They're attacking hospital staff. They're kidnapping people. They are destroying buildings and refugee camps on the heads of the innocent people, mostly women and children, in a deliberate campaign. So that's what people need to understand. This is the Israeli policy. The Israeli policy is to kill as many women and children as possible. And now the UN some people in the UN are criticizing what's happening even more. Not they haven't criticized before, but now they are criticizing it even more. We have this report coming about the figures saying that North Gaza is apocalyptic and that everyone is at imminent risk of death due to malnutrition, due to the lack of basic necessities when it comes to water, food, medication. People are dying from wounds. People die because they don't get basic care. Why? Well, because the Geno forces attack hospitals. They kidnap hospital staff. They kill hospital staff. They kill emergency rescuers. They killed over 900 workers in the healthcare sector in Gaza. All of that is deliberate to kill every lifeline in Gaza, and they start with the north of Gaza. And here they talk about a policy of starvation. They talk about deliberate actions from Israel. Yet, again, it's not getting any. The only thing that we had is, please don't forget, on the 13th of October, the United States gave Israel a month. The United States administration gave Israel 1 month to find an immediate solution to allow the necessary aid to North Gaza. Now, just to be fair, Biden had a conversation with Netanyahu over half a year ago when they were also implementing something similar in Gaza, probably not to the extent that they are doing now, but also extremely bad. Because don't forget, in the beginning of the war, they were doing this across all of Gaza and people were justifying it. Some people. Biden had a call with Benjamin Netanyahu. The reports at the time said Biden told Netanyahu, you need to do that immediately, or like within a week or two. And then we started seeing aid going into North Gaza, and people actually going back to North Gaza, including confirmations, footage coming from the ground. That indicates that if the United States actually wants to do something and use some leverage, they can. They can do that. At the time, I personally called it a semi-ceasefire. Why? Because we saw more aid going into the north immediately after that conversation he had with Biden. We saw people going back to the north. And we even saw the Israeli army asking aid organizations, come and deal with us, and we're going to open the aid. We're going to open the entry of aid from the north part of Gaza, from the Erez crossing. Now, what are they saying? This could hinder the delivery of weapons that Israel needs. So indirectly, like mini embargo, limited. Again, potential. They need to show us that they are doing something. All of the words do not include an outright threat, and the situation is as it is, still in North Gaza, and Israel is still claiming that they want to continue with this plan. Now, they could be doing this for many reasons. The most important reason is, of course, the fact that they are indeed looking to commit an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza, because they didn't just limit the campaign to the north. They also continued to other areas. They said in the campaign, in the general's plan, we're going to continue to other areas as and when necessary, and following the most northern parts of Gaza. And of course, the level of talks coming from the United States and other countries are not to the level required. And it's not just the United States that's responsible for this, it's other countries too, but the United States seeing as they are the main supporter of Israel. So the situation is very bad, but they are still facing fierce resistance in North Gaza. Today we had more footage of Al-Qassam brigades targeting Israeli genocide forces in North Gaza, taking them down. And these things, they're not being published in the Israeli media. They're acting as if it's nothing. Now, when it comes to Lebanon, in Lebanon, we had an assassination attempt. We had an assassination attempt 15 days ago from Hezbollah. They sent a drone to Benjamin Netanyahu's bedroom. But now we have a report that Benjamin Netanyahu went to visit Metullah. Metullah is a heavily targeted area from Hezbollah, very close to the Lebanese borders. And that might be something substantiated, according to some reports, Benjamin Netanyahu asked to visit the location, but he was advised not to do so from the security establishment. Therefore, he had to delay this visit. However, today we have this report saying that he was on his way in a secret visit, so it wasn't made public. Just before his arrival, we had the UAV coming from Hezbollah. Before visiting Metullah, UAV exploded. Netanyahu forced to change plans. 20 minutes before the Prime Minister's arrival in Metullah, a UAV exploded in the town. Security authorities forced Netanyahu to change his plan. They said Benjamin Netanyahu had to cancel a visit to the town of Metullah on the Lebanese border on Sunday while he was en route to the town after the UAV detonated in the area. The UAV exploded in Metullah about 20 minutes before Netanyahu's scheduled arrival. The Prime Minister's office commented on the reports that he chose not to meet residents of the North during his visit and wrote, in contrast to the fake reports in the media, Prime Minister Netanyahu did not ask to cancel his visit in Metula today. The office noted that the opposite is the truth. Netanyahu repeatedly asked to visit deep in the field, and the security authorities are stopping him. In this case as well, the Prime Minister asked to go to Metula, but the security authorities ordered him to change the tour's path. They ordered him to change the tour's path because they knew he was going to be targeted. And I'll tell you why. Usually Metula is not targeted by UAVs unless we're talking about a specific group of soldier gatherings from Israel. Usually Metula, they land Katyushas on them. Even when they target soldier gatherings, the majority of the time they use Katyusha missiles. Why? Because they know exactly where they are. But if they send a UAV, that means there's something different. There's someone they're targeting. And the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, according to the reports, 20 minutes, it could be that he was there, by the way. But they're trying to publish these news to cover up the fact that he was almost hit. Don't forget that. We shouldn't believe everything that's coming up. But what they're confirming is 20 minutes before. Clearly, Hezbollah have information, have intelligence from inside of Israel about Benjamin Netanyahu's movements. And that's why Benjamin Netanyahu is now directly employing people from within the army. We had these leaks coming out about the plans of Yahya Sinwar. Reports say that a previous top figure in Netanyahu's office has been arrested because he leaked those documents to the Bild newspaper and the Jewish Chronicle. These documents support the narrative of Benjamin Netanyahu that Yahya Sinwar was relying on the internal pressure inside of Israel to continue with his plans. And he's getting a lot of criticism from the families of the Israelis who are kidnapped in Gaza and everyone opposing him. And the reports are saying that, or based on what the reports are saying, it's established that he is getting information because that document supposedly, because not all of the details were published yet, leaked directly from the army to Netanyahu, not taking the general course of action and due diligence when it comes to passing the information. How? Usually, if you have a leak, a document that the military obtained or certain figures in the military obtained, they need to pass it to their commanders. After they pass it to their commanders, they have an authorization. This needs to be passed to the Prime Minister because the Prime Minister doesn't have like full access over every single thing in the army. Yeah, he makes the decisions, of course, but the army is an establishment. And if you want certain things to be reported, or if the chain of command or the top figure in charge of reporting sees fit to pass this information to the Prime Minister, he will approve it. But in the case of the leaked documents that they were speaking about, they did not follow the order, meaning he has a mole or a network of moles in the Israeli army. Why is he doing that? It's because he doesn't trust them. He does not trust the army. He does not trust the people closest to him. And the fact that Hezbollah are getting so close to targeting him after declaring that they have targeted him and they will continue to target him, he is being ultra paranoid now. Why? Because many people in Israel want him dead. To them, he is leading Israel to this catastrophe. And he's refusing every type of ceasefire or any potential of de-escalation. So, from his perspective, well, maybe people in the army also want me dead. It's not just the people. And that's why the head of security of Benjamin Netanyahu, many months back, ordered all of the team of the security team of Benjamin Netanyahu not to allow a single movement from the prime minister unless he directly authorizes it. Meaning, Benjamin Netanyahu has much more restricted freedom of movement. Why is that? It's because there are networks inside of Israel who want to take him down or are supporting the foreign movements or foreign bodies or foreign governments wanting to take down Netanyahu. And if his plan wasn't announced today, if his visit wasn't announced, wasn't made public, well, why would they send a drone? And why would the Israeli media even say that it landed 20 minutes before? And again, thick lines under the 20 minutes. He could have been there. We don't know for sure. We know from the reports, but we also know that there is censorship. And if there's censorship, then that means we could have certain things that have been made to or published to appear different than what they actually were. And in the case of Netanyahu being in Metullah, well, he could have been there, and Hezbollah were very, very close to him, meaning that they have intel on Benjamin Netanyahu. They know his movements. When they targeted him in his house, he was there. So they are monitoring how he is moving. How? Of course, many observers and usually the mainstream media are very quick to say or speak about the level of infiltration Israel has on the Lebanese resistance or here and there, and that's why they can target people. Well, you have infiltration in Israel. Why don't you talk about that? Why isn't that the headlines? A prime minister who is hyper paranoid now, worried to a level where he has to operate people directly from within the actual army itself to work for him because he is not trusting them. He's not trusting the people in the army. He isn't trusting the chief of staff. Don't forget the earlier videos when we were speaking about that was confirmed from Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu security checking the IDF chief of staff before conducting a meeting with him. Imagine the IDF chief of staff being security checked before visiting Benjamin Netanyahu. Look at the level of trust. Look at the level of trust in the top leadership in Israel. And that's been happening since day one. These differences and this lack of trust. So they wanted to check if he has something tagged, if he has any spy devices before sitting down and meeting with him. And that wasn't just the case with the IDF chief of staff. That was the case with Gallant. And we had the threats back and forth, the shouting matches, the meetings that were broken, the swear words and the outright threats to bring a brigade from the IDF, like Gallant said before. He stormed into Netanyahu's office. He told the office members, next time I'll bring a brigade from Golani to instill law and order here. What does that mean? That means that there are parts of the army with different loyalties. And Netanyahu split the army already. They're acting like they have a united front. And that's why he has people inside of the Israeli army working for him. But even that, it's not stopping Hezbollah from trying to assassinate him again. Now, he survived once, he survived twice. Will he survive the third time? We don't know. Which leads us to the next subject. Iran. We have a lot of talk about Iran and the potential response coming from Iran. We had an increased tone. We've been speaking about it every day, monitoring each statement coming from each official in the relevant level, at the relevant level in Iran, and how that tone is changing and how the statements are being more aggressive and more clear when it comes to the response on Israel. And today we had more statements. Today, we had more statements coming from the IRGC and political officials. Firstly, the IRGC, they're saying new operation against Israel set to happen. That's the IRGC deputy chief. Iran will certainly carry out a retaliatory military operation against the Israeli regime, a deputy commander of the Islamic Revolution Guard School said. Asked whether an Operation True Promise 3 against the Zionist regime is on the agenda, Rear Admiral Ali Fadavi told reporters at the Sharif University of Tehran on Sunday that the operation will definitely be carried out. It is not possible to comment on the details, the general stated. And then they continued to talk about the October 1st attack and the previous statements that we had from the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So, more days pass, more confirmations, increased tone, and no one knows exactly when it's going to happen. And we also had this confirmation coming from a spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry. The spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry emphasized that Tehran will employ all of its physical and intellectual assets, to respond to the Zionist regime's acts of aggression. Asked about media reports that Iran has plans to launch an attack from Iraqi soil against Israel, because we had a lot of reports coming recently that Iran is going to be conducting an attack from Iraq. And we spoke about the prospect of that happening. Why? Because Israel targeted Iran from Iraqi airspace that the US forces use in Iraq. They were too afraid to go next to Iran because of their advanced air defense systems that were very effective in taking down the majority of the projectiles or missiles. But of course, some of them landed, leading to 5 martyrs from the Iranian army who said that they will be participating in the response. That is usually carried out by the IRGC, not the Iranian army. But Iran said because the members of the Iranian army, soldiers from the Iranian army, were killed, the army has to participate with the IRGC as well. And he elaborated. It's because, of course, what I want to say when it comes to Iraq, Iran, the argument was because Israel used the Iraqi airspace, Iran might also use certain attacks from Iraq, something that I personally think isn't really necessary. And I don't personally view that Iran will take such a move because their strategic missiles are in Iran. Not that Iraq doesn't have capabilities, they have, and they target Israel. Not just target Israel. Their drones, they also go through windows in military bases. And they killed many IOF soldiers from Iraq. However, of course, the majority of the missiles are going to be in Iran, and Iran has worked for decades on having a very robust and thorough system in place to have their missiles protected and to carry out very successful military operations against Israel or anyone planning to attack Iran or will be attacking Iran or has already attacked Iran. Now, when it comes to the spokesperson, when he was asked about the prospect of using Iraqi soil in response to the Zionist regime's October 26 strike, Ismail Baqai announced at a press conference on Monday that Iran has definite patterns of response to the Israeli regime. We would employ all physical and intellectual capabilities to respond to the Zionist regime. So, he neither confirmed nor denied that they will be using or won't be using the Iraqi airspace. Asked about recent comments from Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian that a possible ceasefire in Gaza may affect the type and severity of Iran's response, Baqai said, our reaction to any act of aggression will be decisive. Iran believes that the overriding problem is the Israeli genocidal crimes in Palestine and its onslaught in Lebanon, the spokesperson said, adding that the region will stay on the brink of war as long as the Zionist aggression exists. Baqai added that Iran has always welcomed initiatives for the cessation of Israeli crimes in Gaza and Lebanon. And then they added again about the actual attack from Israel on Iran. And then we had other elaborations from the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian saying that, well, we're seeking peace. We're seeking peace in the region. But when you're faced with people who only act with aggression, we will have to respond. We will be responding. And yesterday we spoke about the fact that he mentioned that yesterday or the day before, that if the genocide entity starts to behave and stop slaughtering women and children, we might take that into consideration when it comes to the severity and intensity of the response, meaning a response is coming. The level, the intensity, we're not sure. However, there were also indications that Iran's attack, or reports that Iran's attack is going to happen on the day of the US election, which is the 5th, tomorrow. These were not substantiated. There was nothing to confirm such reports, and of course, Iran will not publish them. Iran, in their last attack that happened on October 1st against Israel, they didn't let anyone know about anything. The United States warned Israel because they had intel, probably from satellite imagery, that there are certain movements happening in Iran, abnormal movements. Maybe there's an attack coming on you, you need to prepare. Later on, the Israeli spokesperson said that there is a very serious risk. Minutes later, we firstly have an operation at the heart of Israel, and then we have an immediate attack coming from Iran and missiles being launched and landing within minutes, approximately 6 to 7 minutes. And we saw how effective that was. And the likelihood of Iran warning this time is very low. I don't think Iran will be warning anyone, and I don't think any information coming about a certain date will be very accurate. But what do we know? We know for sure that the response is coming, and we also know that it can happen at any moment.